again, and welcome to American Top 40. My name's Casey Kasem, and I'm all set to count down the 40 biggest hits in the 50 states. These are the records you're buying, and radio stations are playing all over America this week. And we have some big debuts from Elton John, from Heart, and from Michael Jackson. Let's warm up with a recap of last week's top 3. At number 3 last week was Heaven is a Place on Earth by Belinda Carlisle. Number 2 was I've Had the Time of My Life by Bill Medley and Jennifer Warnes. And last week's number 1 song was Moni Moni by Billy Idol. Is Billy on the Moni again this week? Or do Bill Medley and Jennifer Warnes have their time on top? We'll find out. Let's count them down.
Number 40.
4 debuts this week, and the first of them leads the way. It's by singer Laura Branigan from upstate New York. This is her 7th top 40 hit. Coming in at number 40, here's Power of Love.
The whisper in the morning.
Power of Love, Laura Branigan, with a song that was a big hit a couple of years ago in Europe for another American singer, Jennifer Rush. But Jennifer's version never quite made it to the 40. Laura Branigan's has, coming in this week at number 40. 4 songs debut in the survey, and the 4 that drop out are Casanova, You Got the Look, Don't Make Me Wait for Love, and Boys Night Out. Now, here's one that's still hanging in there. Climbed as high as number 13 this week at 39, Where the Streets Have No Name, by the hottest rock band touring the world right now. Here's U2. Where the Streets Have No Name. That's U2, falling from number 28 to 39. It's the 3rd hit from their smash album, The Joshua Tree. And 2 of those hits went all the way to number 1, With or Without You, and I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Coming up, the latest number 1 for the only singer in chart history to have sung on 4 number 1 records by the time he was only 12 years old.
Casey's Coast to Coast, American Top 40.
You know, 1987's almost over, and with a little more than a month to go, we're already working on the AT40 annual survey of this year's top 100 hits. We'll be counting them down New Year's week. Here's a group who's bound to have a hit or two in the top 100 of 1987, the Miami-based trio Exposé. Actually, Ann Curlis is the only one from Miami. Joya Bruno is from New Jersey, and Jeanette Girardo's from L.A. Their recent number 7 smash falls from 32 to 38. It's Let Me Be the One. Exposé and Let Me Be the One falls 6 notches to number 38. Been in the countdown for 13 weeks now. This is American Top 40. I'm Casey Kasem. Now we're up to the latest number 1 song by the only singer ever to have sung on 4 number 1 records by the time he was only 12 years old. This artist was 11 when the group he sang with hit number 1 for the first time. That was with a song called I Want You Back. 3 months later, they followed that smash with another number 1, a song called ABC. And 2 months later, they hit the top with The Love You Save. Right after that, the singer celebrated his 12th birthday. And just 2 months after that, he celebrated his group's 4th number 1, a song called I'll Be There by the Jacksons. Nothing like an early start in the record business if you've got the talent. And this singer's talent has stood up to the test of time. 17 years later, he has now sung on 8 more number 1s for a career total of 12. That includes his latest chart topper, the title song from his number 1 album. At number 37, the song is Bad. The man is Michael Jackson.
Who's bad?
You're Bad. Bad enough to hit number 1 in Belgium, in Denmark, Ireland, and here in the USA for 2 weeks. The title song from Michael Jackson's album. And the newest hit from that album is coming up later, debuting this week, as the countdown rolls on.
The hits from coast to coast, American Top 40.
We're on our way to the number 1 song in the USA.
Number 36.
Here's the band who hit number 1 with a remake of Richie Valens' song La Bamba. Did another Valens song and took this one to number 21. Now it falls 11 notches. Come On, Let's Go by Los Lobos.
Well, come on.
Los Lobos and Come On, Let's Go, falling 11 notches to number 36. It's a hit from the recent number 1 soundtrack album from the movie La Bamba. On American Top 40, this is Casey Kasem. We're counting down now to the popular band Heart, who hail from a West Coast city that gave us the term Skid Row. The original Skid Row was a street covered with grease. Details coming up.
Casey's Coast to Coast, American Top 40.
Every week, American Top 40's heard in the 50 states and around the world on great radio stations like Charleston's Choice, V100, Charleston, West Virginia, K100, Macomb, Illinois, the Hot FM, King FM 104.7, KNNG, Sterling, Colorado, and Stereo de Cuernavaca, Mexico. Here's the third hit now from Michael Jackson's recent #1 album, Bad. Not feeling so bad anymore. Sounds like he's in love. Coming in at number 35, The Way You Make Me Feel. The Way You Make Me Feel. Michael Jackson debuting at number 35. That's the third big hit from his latest album. You're listening to American Top 40. My name's Casey Kasem. Now we're up to the song by the group Heart, who come from a great city in the Pacific Northwest. The city that gave us, among other things, the term Skid Row. Now these days, just about every city has a Skid Row, a depressed part of town where winos and drug addicts and other unfortunate people wind up. In New York City, for instance, the Skid Row area is down on the Bowery. In San Francisco, it's the area called the Tenderloin. But the original Skid Row is in the state of Washington, in the city of Seattle. And the proper term up there isn't Skid Row. It's Skid Road, R-O-A-D. That's because Skid Road was a real street, just below the Pike Place Market over there near the Seattle docks. It used to be a street that ran downhill and was paved completely with greased logs. And it was over those greased logs that lumbermen would unload freshly cut trees from the woods of the Pacific Northwest in Canada, then send them skidding down to the mills at the bottom end of Skid Row. As the years went by, the mills closed, and Skid Row became a gathering place for derelicts and people who had given up on life. But the name stuck, and it became the term all over the country for the area of town where people who are down on their luck tend to gather. And that's where the term Skid Row comes from. Now, here's a popular rock and roll band that Seattle has given us. Debuting at number 34 with their latest hit, it's Heart, and There's the Girl. That's Heart coming into the survey at number 34 with There's the Girl, third hit from their album Bad Animals. They've also had Who Will You Run To and the #1 song, Alone. We're counting down now to the current hit by Madonna, who recently would have had her sold-out concert in Paris canceled if a fan of hers, a young French girl, hadn't complained to the French Prime Minister. That story coming up.
Casey's Coast to Coast. American Top 40.
We're counting down America's most popular song straight from the official Billboard chart. And we're up to number 33, the week's highest debut. It's a classic song by Elton John, originally recorded on his #1 album, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, way back in 1973. This one's a live version of that song, recorded in Australia last winter. Here's Elton and Candle in the Wind.
Goodbye, Norma Jean.
Candle in the Wind. Elton John recorded live in concert in Australia. And that's the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra backing him up. He debuts this week at number 33. I'm Casey Kasem. This is AT40. Well, now we're up to the current hit by the superstar who would have had her sold-out concert in Paris canceled if it hadn't been for a devoted fan, a young French girl with connections in high places. The superstar is Madonna, and it happened just a few months ago. Madonna had just started an electrifying European tour, and by the time she got to France, she managed to break all previous attendance records. Sold 110,000 tickets for a concert in a suburb of Paris in a town called Sceaux. But there was a problem. The mayor of Sceaux was threatening to cancel the concert because he thought the community just wouldn't be able to handle that many people. For a while, it looked like the French were going to miss the show of the year. A lot of fans were very disappointed, including one young French girl named Claude Chirac. Now, Claude decided to fight City Hall on this one, so she complained to someone with the power to do something about it. And that was her dad. Claude's father is French Prime Minister Jacques Chirac. Well, Papa didn't preach to his daughter on this one. He stepped in and rescued the concert. And not only did he clear the way for Madonna, but he actually lowered the tax on records. Out of gratitude, Madonna invited the Prime Minister to come visit her before the concert. And the 54-year-old statesman strolled backstage wearing his blue jeans and listening to the True Blue album on his Walkman. Madonna said she thought Monsieur Chirac was quite handsome. She went out on stage that night and greeted the record-breaking crowd of 110,000 people in French with bonsoir. And then in English, she sighed and said, causing a commotion. That's how I felt when I met Jacques Chirac. Sacre bleu. Here's Madonna at number 32 with Causing a Commotion. Madonna causing a commotion. She was making a ruckus in the top 10 a few weeks back, spent 3 straight weeks at number 2. Now she's making her way down the chart. This week at number 32. Up next, a group of heavy metal felines, bringing out the animal in our countdown.
Casey's Coast to Coast, American Top 40.
These are the hottest hits across the USA.
Number 31.
Bringing out the animal in our countdown, here's a heavy metal band from Sheffield, England, prowling the top 40 for the first time in 4 years. Their claws are out and they're climbing. Up 5 notches, Def Leppard and Animal. Def Leppard back in the countdown after a 4-year break. Their hit's called Animal, and it's produced by Robert John Mutt Lang, known as one of the hard rock producers. The song moves up from 36 to 31. Next, at number 30 on American Top 40 is the hit Love Will Find a Way by the English band who helped define progressive rock in the 70s, the group called Yes. Bass player Chris Squire told us why he thinks the group has lasted so long. He says, always have something to aim at and new places to go. I know when bands get so big, it often seems they're becoming a corporation, but they should never lose their hunger to get out there and rock. End of quote. Well, on their new hit song, they may start out soft, but wait till the song opens up. They haven't forgotten how to rock. Here's Yes with Love Will Find a Way. Yes, and Love Will Find a Way, finding its way up a notch to number 30. 5th top 40 hit for the English band who've been together since 1968 when they were formed in London. I'm Casey Kasem. This is American Top 40 in Hollywood, and we're counting down the week's 40 biggest hits. 29 big ones to go on our way to number 1, and we'll continue in a moment. You're listening to American Top 40. My name's Casey Kasem, and here we go with the second hour of our weekly survey of the 40 most popular songs in America.
Number 29.
The Australian band In Excess are climbing the countdown with the song Need You Tonight. It was co-written by the group's lead singer, Michael Hutchence. And Michael's recently added another credit to his resume, acting. He's starring in a new movie called Dogs in Space. It's an Australian movie that's getting good critical reviews in the States, and Michael's getting some good notices for his performance, too. He's performing at number 29 in our countdown. Here's In Excess with Need You Tonight.
You want my kind.
The 6-man band from Sydney, Australia, In Excess, with an excessively impressive 9-notch jump to number 29. Song's called Need You Tonight. I'm Casey Kasem. You're listening to American Top 40. There's a man in the countdown who says he was blackmailed into dropping his real name and using a stage name. Today, he uses both names. His story and latest hit coming up.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
American Top 40's heard in the 50 states and around the world every week on great radio stations like KEYG, AM and FM, Grand Coulee, Washington. K101, the power station, KKRQ, Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. WMRF-FM, Music 96, Lewiston, Pennsylvania. And Z93, WCGC, Atlanta, Georgia. Here's a song that had an all-star track record before it took off here in America. Hit number 1 in 9 European countries. A couple of weeks ago, hit number 9 on American Top 40. Now, at number 28, here are the Pet Shop Boys with It's a Sin. Thunder and Lightning, courtesy of the Pet Shop Boys. It's a Sin. 3rd top 40 hit for the London duo made up of Neil Tennant and Chris Lowe. From Hollywood, this is Casey, counting them down. Now, we're up to the rock and roller who was blackmailed into changing his name. That's the story we got straight from John Cougar Mellencamp. He never wanted the Cougar part. It was a name given to him in an offer he couldn't refuse. It all began back in the late 70s when John was struggling to make it in Bloomington, Indiana. And he sent some demo tapes to a few carefully chosen artist managers, including Tony DeFries in New York City. DeFries had handled David Bowie to name one big star. Well, Tony liked John's tape, so he flew him to New York and offered him a management contract. Then he gave John $6,000, told him to go back home and record some more songs, which John Mellencamp did happily. Meanwhile, his manager made a deal with MCA Records to release John's first album. And when it came time to close the deal, John told us his manager, Tony DeFries, asked him to change his name. Change it from Mellencamp because it wasn't commercial. Tony wanted John to take the name Cougar and be Johnny Cougar. Well, John said, no, Mellencamp is a perfectly good name. Then, according to John, Tony said, if you don't take the name Johnny Cougar, this record will never come out. Mellencamp stormed out in a rage, fumed about it for days. Then finally he decided, what the heck, it's only a stage name like David Bowie, who's really David Jones. And so John Mellencamp, faced with a take-it-or-leave-it proposition, became John Cougar. And that first album, well, it didn't have any hits on it and didn't sell much either. But it was a start. Once John Cougar did start having hits, he took more control of his career and took back his real name. Since 1983, he's been recording as John Cougar Mellencamp and says someday that Cougar part may go completely. His current hit is at number 27 in our countdown. Here's Cherry Bomb. Moving up 7 notches to number 27, Cherry Bomb, second hit from the album The Lonesome Jubilee by John Cougar Mellencamp. The first one, Paper and Fire, went to number 9 as the countdown rocks on.
Hits from coast to coast. American Top 40.
We're coming to you from Hollywood.
Number 26.
Here's a newcomer, Taylor Dayne. So new she doesn't even have an album out yet. But we're told she's currently in the studio recording one to go along with this, her first chart single. Taylor Dayne with Tell It to My Heart. Tell It to My Heart hit the top 5 on the dance chart and is now dancing his way up the pop chart, up 7 notches this week to number 26. It's by 25-year-old Taylor Dayne bursting onto the dance pop scene with her first chart single. At number 25, we've got another newcomer, a male solo singer with his first top 40 single. But Michael Bolton didn't exactly burst onto the scene. He worked his way in, step by step. Michael's 34 years old, and for years, he's written songs for other people like the Pointer Sisters, Kenny Rogers, and Laura Branigan. He did make the Hot 100 himself as a singer a couple of times, once solo, and another time with a band called Blackjack. Now finally, he's made our top 40 on his own. Up 5 notches, here's Michael Bolton with That's What Love Is All About.
There was a time.
That's What Love Is All About. Michael Bolton from his album The Hunger. Michael's at number 25 this week, moving up 5 notches. Coming up, a long-distance dedication from a couple in North Carolina who have had to live through every parent's nightmare.
The hits from coast to coast. American Top 40.
The numbers get smaller, the hits get bigger, and so does the Wolfgram family. Currently, 7 Wolfgram kids make up the group The Jets. But back home in Minneapolis, Mama Wolfgram, Vake, gave birth to another son recently. That makes a running total of 15 children in the Wolfgram family. Who knows, they may all end up in the group someday. Here are 7 of them, The Jets with I Do You at number 24. Up 5 notches to number 24, I Do You by The Jets. It's the follow-up to their number 7 hit back in July, Cross My Broken Heart. This is Casey Kasem on American Top 40 in Hollywood. Now, we're up to our long-distance dedication. And this one is from a couple in North Carolina who write about something every parent dreads. Dear Casey, I'm a 22-year-old manager for a local supermarket in Wilmington, North Carolina. My wife is a 21-year-old cashier for the same company. We had a 3-month, 16-day-old little girl that we loved with all our hearts. She was so beautiful and precious to us both. We took excellent care of our daughter. You could say we were overly protective, but we just couldn't help ourselves. She was so special to us. On Tuesday morning, August 26, 1986, my wife and I got up to give Amber Marie her bottle for breakfast. I woke her up and she was in the best of moods, laughing out loud and playing after she had her bottle. She didn't want to go back to sleep like usual. She wanted to play and laugh. We hated to leave her that morning, but we both had to go to work. About 12 noon, I got a phone call at work to go to the hospital. My daughter had stopped breathing. My heart dropped to my knees. When I arrived at the hospital, the ambulance hadn't arrived yet. But when they got there, I saw my little girl, and I knew she was gone, even though they were still working on her. My wife and I will never forget that sight. Casey, the death of our little girl struck us both hard, but we know life must go on. When Amber was born, the number 1 song in the nation was Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston. My wife and I believe the first few words of that song might help remind other parents that children are the greatest love of all. Casey, will you play it in memory of Amber Marie McDougald? Thanks for listening. Robert and Donna McDougald. Here's your long-distance dedication. Whitney Houston's #1 song, The Greatest Love of All. A long-distance dedication from Donna and Robert in North Carolina in memory of their baby girl, Amber Marie, who died from sudden infant death syndrome. And the countdown continues on American Top 40.
Casey's Coast to Coast. American Top 40.
These are the hits ranked by Billboard magazine.
Number 23.
The veteran band Fleetwood Mac had a membership change recently. Lindsey Buckingham left the group, and he was replaced by Billy Burnett and Rick Vito. But here on the countdown, we've got a song that Lindsey co-produced before he left. Here's Fleetwood Mac and Little Lies. 16th Top 40 hit for the English-American band Fleetwood Mac. It peaked at number 4, now it's at number 23, sliding 15 notches this week. On American Top 40, this is Casey Kasem. You know, the all-time leader with the most #1s on Billboard's Black Singles chart is the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. Now, in second place, there's been a tie between The Godfather and The Master Blaster. The song that breaks that tie is coming up.
Casey's Coast to Coast, American Top 40.
These are the 40 hottest hits in the USA, and firing up 5 notches to number 22, the hard-rockin' band from Boston, Aerosmith, with Dude Looks Like a Lady. From their new album, Permanent Vacation, Aerosmith returning to our chart after a 9-year vacation. Their hit's called Dude Looks Like a Lady, and it moves up 5 notches to number 22. This is Casey on American Top 40. Well, now we're up to the song that breaks a tie on Billboard's Black Singles chart. A tie for artists with the most #1s on the Black chart. Now, the all-time leader is the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. Since she started hitting big in the 60s, she's racked up a total of 20 #1s on the Black Singles chart. Now, right behind Aretha, in second place, we've been having a battle. There's been a tie between The Godfather and The Master Blaster. The Godfather is soul brother #1, Mr. James Brown. For a few years now, he's had 17 #1s on the Black Singles chart. And then a couple of years ago, another superstar came along and tied James Brown. And he did it with the song Part-Time Lover. They call him the Master Blaster. That was the title of one of his many hit songs. This week, he breaks his tie with James Brown. He scores his 18th #1 on the Black Singles chart. Here's the man with the most #1 Black Singles, second only to Lady Soul. Stevie Wonder on American Top 40 with Skeletons at number 21.
Skeletons in your closet.
You're getting ready to lie, they're getting ready to spy, somebody's been on the hot seat, and they're getting ready to fry. Stevie Wonder with those topical lyrics. That's Skeletons, and it's up a notch to number 21 this week. This is American Top 40 in Hollywood, counting down the most popular songs in the USA. I'm Casey Kasem. We'll continue in a moment. 20 big hits to go on our way to the #1 song in the nation. We're counting down the hottest hits in the nation on American Top 40. I'm Casey Kasem, and the countdown continues.
Number 20.
Here's the current hit by Steve Winwood, which is not a new song. Back in 1982, it charted and hit number 70. Now it's been remixed, has hit again, and climbs 3 notches to number 20. Valerie. Steve Winwood singing about his favorite girl, Valerie, moves up from number 23 to number 20, his 6th top 40 solo hit. You know, once a band breaks up, a lot of things can get them back together. Money, a record deal, a new sound. Well, we're counting down to an English band who broke up and then got back together because of a snowstorm. Their stormy story and their first top 40 hit coming up.
The hits from coast to coast, American Top 40.
Once a week with AT40, and you know how your favorite songs are doing across the nation. Like this comeback hit by former Beatle George Harrison. Now that he's 44 years old, George says he laughs about his days as a member of the Fab Four. He even has a song on his new album called When We Was Fab. His first hit song from that album climbs 7 notches to number 19. Got My Mind Set on You.
I got my mind set on you.
Got My my mind set on you. That's what George Harrison says. He's at number 19 and moving up. I'm Casey Kasem. This is American Top 40. Well, now we're up to the band who a few years ago broke up, then got back together. Not because of money or a record deal or a new sound, but because of a snowstorm. They're the English group Squeeze, and here's their winter's tale. Squeeze formed back in 1974 in London, put out 5 pretty successful albums. But still, they started to argue among themselves, and in 1983, they went their separate ways, vowing never to play together again. Well, 2 years later, one night in the winter of 1984, former keyboardist Jules Holland was playing a show at a pub outside London. His band also included former Squeeze drummer Gilson Lavis. Well, another Squeeze alumnus, singer Glenn Tilbrook, heard about it, and he dropped by to check out their act. Glenn sat in the back with a pint, watching Jules and Gilson up there on stage raging away. Meanwhile, outside, Mother Nature started raging. A ferocious snowstorm blew in and dumped about a foot of snow on metropolitan London. After the band finished their set, everyone realized, because of the snow, that nobody was going nowhere. London was paralyzed. Well, certainly there were worse places to get stranded, and our boys from Squeeze made the best of it. Jules asked Glenn to join him and Gilson on stage. Glenn couldn't think of a reason why not. Grabbed a guitar, and they tore through a set of their old songs, and sounded great. So great that once they all got home the next day, they were on the phone talking about it, realizing that their past problems were just that. Past. A few weeks later, Squeeze officially reformed. Cheers. That's the English band who got back together with a little help from Mother Nature. Here they are with their first top 40 hit, snowed in at number 18 for a second week. Squeeze with Hourglass. The 6-man English band Squeeze putting pressure on the number 18 spot for a second week. Up next, a danceable dose of poisonous pop.
Casey's Coast to Coast. American Top 40.
American Top 40 originates in Hollywood.
Number 17.
We have a total of 8 acts this week who are in the top 40 for the first time. And here's one of those newcomers, the 4-man, 1-woman band from Camden, New Jersey, Pretty Poison. Their song hit number 1, Dance. Now it's up 4 notches to number 17 on AT40. Catch Me, I'm Falling.
Are you ready, boy?
Catch Me Now, I'm Falling. Falling in Love. That's Pretty Poison in the survey for the first time. 5th week for them, and they move up 4 notches to number 17. At number 16 on American Top 40 is the first woman in chart history to debut on the album chart at number 1. 4 men have done it: Stevie Wonder, Elton John, Michael Jackson, and Bruce Springsteen. The woman who crashes that exclusive fraternity did it just a few months ago, and she did it with her album called Whitney, debuting at number 1. Here's her 3rd hit from that album, climbing 3 notches to number 16, So Emotional, Whitney Houston.
I don't know why I like it.
So Emotional, Whitney Houston doing the emoting at number 16, up 3 notches. It's the follow-up to her number 1 song, Didn't We Almost Have It All? Now, listen to this hit from 9 years ago.
Now when he was a young man, he never thought he'd see people stand in line to see the boy change.
He's one of America's funniest film stars. We'll unmask that wild and crazy guy in just a few minutes.
The hits from coast to coast. American Top 40.
Every week, American Top 40's heard in the 50 states and around the world on great radio stations like Quick Radio, KQIK, AM and FM, Lakeview, Oregon. The Valley's Hot Numbers, 1390 AM, 92.1 FM, Middleport, Ohio. International Radio, WQDY, AM and FM, Calais, Maine, and St. Stephen's, New Brunswick. And Radio 210 in Royal Berkshire, North Hampshire, and Oxfordshire, England. Last week, this song peaked at number 13. The song by the LA band who call themselves Poison. At number 15 this week, I Won't Forget You. Poison and I Won't Forget You. Their second top 40 hit drops 2 notches to number 15 in the countdown this week. On American Top 40 in Hollywood, I'm Casey Kasem. Now, listen to this hit from 9 years ago. That is a top 40 hit from 1978, and the singer is a man who's become one of the most popular actors in Hollywood. A wild and crazy guy who grew up in Orange County, California. We first got to know him in the mid-'70s as a regular host on Saturday Night Live. He's a comedian who built his reputation on, well, acting like a jerk, but a funny jerk. He always dressed the part. White silk suit, carefully accessorized with pink and white bunny ears, or the occasional fake arrow through the head. Tasteless from head to toe. In 1977, he recorded his first album called Let's Get Small, which included the rudest apology ever. Excuse me. That did it. This rambling guy became the most popular comedian in the country. Meanwhile, there was an art exhibit touring the country, The Treasures of the Ancient Egyptian King, King Tutankhamun. And in 1978, this comedian captured the comic spirit of the land of the pharaohs with this. Listen.
King Tut. He could have won a Grammy. Buried in his jammies. Got a condo made of stoner.
King Tut, a song that went up to number 17 back in 1978 for Steve Martin and his backup group, the Toot Uncommons, which were actually the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Steve, of course, went on from stand-up comedy to become a versatile writer, director, actor, and filmmaker, though he still says his occupation is comedian. His string of hit movies include Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, All of Me, and last summer's hit Roxanne. He's now starring with John Candy in a new movie called Trains, Planes, and Automobiles. Steve Martin, the original wild and crazy guy, famous actor and pop star, hitting the top 40 back in 1978 with King Tut. Another page from the AT40 book of I Didn't Know He Ever Hit the Chart as the countdown rambles on.
Number 14.
Up 3 notches, Jody Watley looking for a second solo top 10 hit. Here's Don't You Want Me.
Are you looking to hold you tight?
Jody Watley and Don't You Want Me. The 28-year-old singer from Chicago moves from 17 to 14. She first hit back in 1977 with Shalimar on the hit song Uptown Festival as the countdown rocks on.
The hits from coast to coast. American Top 40.
We're on our way to the number 1 song in the USA. And next in line at number 13 is the first hit by the English trio Swing Out Sister. Lead singer Corin Drury says her bandmates Martin Jackson and Andy Connell really break her up. They remind her of great comedy teams like Laurel and Hardy, Yogi and Boo Boo. Or better yet, she says, Fred and Barney, because I want to be Wilma Flintstone. Well, yabba dabba doo, Corin. At number 13, here's Swing Out Sister, Breakout. Swing Out Sister. After 2 weeks at number 6, the English band song Breakout drops to number 13. On American Top 40, I'm Casey Kasem. Holding at number 12 this week is the first Top 40 hit for R.E.M., the song called The One I Love. A lot of people take it as a love song, but it's not really romantic at all. Lead singer Michael Stipe sings, "This one goes out to the one I love. This one goes out to the one I've left behind. A simple prop to occupy my time." And then in the last verse, another prop has occupied my time. Michael Stipe told writer Steve Pond, "It's a brutal kind of a song, and I don't know if people pick up on that." End of quote. At number 12, here's R.E.M., The One I Love.
This one goes out.
The One I Love, R.E.M. The band Rolling Stone magazine just called America's best rock and roll band. They're at number 12 on American Top 40, second week in a row. You know, this year we've been having sort of a top 40 baby boom. 4 teenage solo singers have hit the countdown. Now that's the most since 1977 when 4 other teens did it. Andy, Sean, Leif, and Marie. Details and one of our current kids coming up.
The hits from coast to coast. American Top 40.
Radio plays them, record stores sell them, Billboard ranks them, and AT40 counts them down.
Number 11.
Up 5 notches, here's Whitesnake, whose leader Dave Coverdale says rock is serious therapy. It's good for all of us. End of quote. Well, Whitesnake's current approach to rock therapy is romantic. At number 11, here's Is This Love? Whitesnake with a song that looks like it's top 10 bound. Is This Love? Up 5 notches to number 11 this week. On American Top 40, this is Casey Kasem. Well, now we're up to the current hit by a teen solo singer. and she's one of 4 teens who have hit the top 40 this year. Pretty unusual. In fact, you have to go back a decade to find the last time we've had so many so young with such big hits in the same year. And that was in 1977. Here's a list of the 4 teen solo singers who made the survey back then. The first 2 hit the top 40 in the same week. One hit with a song called This Is the Way I Feel. It was by 17-year-old Marie Osmond. The other teen who hit that week had a song that went all the way to number 1. I Just Want to Be Your Everything by 19-year-old Andy Gibb. A month later, back in 1977, another teenager hit the top 40 with another song that eventually hit number 1, a remake of the Crystals hit Da Do Run Run by 17-year-old TV star Sean Cassidy. The 4th teenager to hit in 1977 did it with a remake of the Beach Boys' Surfin' USA. He was another TV teen, Leif Garrett. That was the last time we had so many teen solo singers in the top 40 all in the same year. 4 of them. Marie Osmond, Andy Gibb, Sean Cassidy, and Leif Garrett, all in 1977. Well, 10 years later, we have a new hit baby boom, 4 teens again. There's been 16-year-old Glenn Medeiros, 19-year-old LL Cool J, and the 2 teens currently in the countdown. There's 16-year-old Tiffany, who's coming up later, and right here at number 10, 17-year-old Debbie Gibson. Her song is Shake Your Love. Debbie Gibson. Shake Your Love. Debbie Gibson jumps another 4 notches this week and lands at number 10. Second top 10 hit for the New York teenager. Her first Only in My Dreams hit number 4 back in September. I'm Casey Kasem. This is American Top 40 in Hollywood, and we're counting down the 40 most popular songs of the week. We've got the 9 biggest coming up on our way to number 1, and we'll continue in just a minute. Now, as we head into the home stretch on American Top 40, I have the pleasure of welcoming a new network of stations to the worldwide American Top 40 family. They're the 10 stations of the Mindanao Radio Network of the Philippines, including in Puerto Princesa, it's 99.9 DYPR. In Rojas, it's 93.9 DYVR. And in Dagupan, it's 104.7 DWON. Welcome aboard. Great to have you with us. I'm Casey Kasem, and we're doing our weekly survey of the most popular records in the USA. And on we go.
Number 9.
The English band Cutting Crew released their debut album Broadcast last spring. Now it's fall, and they're still broadcasting in the countdown. Third top 40 hit for Cutting Crew is holding at number 9, I've Been in Love Before.
Catch my breath.
I've Been in Love Before. Cutting Crew, Nick Van Eed, Colin Farley, Kevin McMichael, and Martin Beadle, who goes by the nickname Frosty. The 4 Englishmen are hot here in the countdown with their third top 40 hit, holding at number 9. Coming up, a long-distance dedication from a woman in Maryland who had a fairy tale marriage that didn't end happily ever after.
Casey's Coast to Coast. American Top 40.
The biggest hits, the biggest stars.
Number 8.
And this next big star is Gordon Sumner. That's his real name. Now, a lot of people may think Gordon got his nickname, Sting, because he was in the group The Police. Sting, Police, get it? Well, I'd believe that, but nope, he got the name way before he was in the Police. Got it because of a black and yellow striped sweater he'd always wear that made him look like a bumblebee. Here he is, buzzing into the top 10 with We'll Be Together. Sting. Moving from number 11 to number 8 with We'll Be Together. It's his 14th top 40 hit overall, counting the ones he sang on with the Police. This is Casey Kasem on American Top 40 in Hollywood. Well, now we're up to our long-distance dedication. And this is from a woman in Maryland who watched her fairy tale fade away. Here's what she writes. Dear Casey, my husband and I have been married for 5 years. We've been separated for the last 8 months. It's been the longest 8 months of my life. You see, I'm still very much in love with him, but I know I've lost him forever. We were the fairy tale couple. For the first 4 years, we worked together, struggling to make it financially, but made it through because we loved each other. We finally built our first house 1 year ago. It was shortly after that my husband got a wonderful job opportunity, but it meant traveling from state to state. He went on his first assignment 10 months ago. I was supposed to join him eventually. But each time we talked on the phone, I could tell that he was pulling away from me. I felt as if my life was falling apart. I went to see him on several occasions, but he wasn't the same person. He was caught up in a different lifestyle, one that didn't include me. So we went our separate ways, sold the house we worked so hard for, and we've been apart for 8 months. He's somewhere in California right now. We're 3,000 miles apart, but at night when I lay down and close my eyes, I can dream of the happy times, the love we had. It's when I awake and when he's not beside me that it's so hard. So Casey, will you play In My Dreams by REO Speedwagon? He may not be listening, but if he is, I just want him to know how very much I love him. And in my dreams, he loves me too. Signed, Monica. Monica, here's your long-distance dedication. A song from just about a month ago, REO Speedwagon's In My Dreams. A long-distance dedication from Monica in Maryland to her husband, very far away. And the countdown continues.
Casey's Coast to Coast. American Top 40.
AT40 originates in Hollywood, and this singer originates from just south of Hollywood, born and raised in Norwalk, California. Here's Tiffany with her recent #1 smash, I Think We're Alone Now, at number 7. The LP, Tiffany, the #1 song for a couple of weeks. Last week fell to number 4, now at number 7. Tiffany's I Think We're Alone Now. At number 6 in the countdown is the man who made the covers of Time and Newsweek in the same week, back in 1975. But his real glory days didn't come till about 10 years later with his #1 album, Born in the USA, with 7 top 10 hits. His current album, Tunnel of Love, recently hit the top, and the first single from it peaked at number 5. Now slipping down to number 6. Here's Bruce Springsteen and Brilliant Disguise.
I hold you in my arms.
Bruce Springsteen and Brilliant Disguise. First hit from his recent #1 album, Tunnel of Love. It hit number 5 last week, now slips a notch to number 6. Up next, an ex-whammer who's got the faith.
Casey's Coast to Coast. American Top 40.
American Top 40's heard in the 50 states and around the world every week on great radio stations like 96 KXN, Greenville, Alabama, Music 103 WQMU, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Light Rock 97 WENS, Indianapolis, Indiana, and more hot rock, lots less talk, 95.9 KEZY, Anaheim, California. 24-year-old George Michael had 6 top 10 hits with Wham. Now he's got the 4th top 10er of his solo career, climbing 5 notches to number 5. Here he is with Faith.
I gotta have faith.
Yes, George Michael slicing the top 10 right in half. His new hit climbs from number 10 to number 5, and it's called Faith. On AT40, this is Casey. Coming up, Billy Idol's Moni Moni, the 8th live #1 of the rock era. The biggest live #1 was by a 12-year-old playing harmonica with his fingertips. Details coming up.
Casey's Coast to Coast. American Top 40.
We're up to the 4th biggest pop song in the USA this week. But before we get to it, let's take a look at the tops of Billboard's other charts. #1 on the country chart is Linda by Steve Wariner. #1 on the black singles chart is Skeletons by Stevie Wonder. #1 on the album chart is the soundtrack album to the movie Dirty Dancing. And back here on the pop chart at number 4, moving up 3 notches, is the 23-year-old from Chicago, Richard Marx. Should have known better.
Another sleepless night. Should've known better.
Richard Marx trying to top himself with his second top 40 hit, Should Have Known Better. It's at number 4, and his first, Don't Mean Nothing, peaked at number 3. On American Top 40, this is Casey Kasem. Well, now we're up to last week's #1 song, and this one was recorded in concert live, making it the 8th live #1 of the rock era. Let me run them down for you. But first, I have to mention a #1 song that sounds live but isn't. Elton John's Benny and the Jets. It was artificially live, not recorded before an audience. Now, here are the real McCoys. We had At This Moment by Billy and the Beaters, Coming Up by Paul McCartney and Wings, Got to Give It Up by Marvin Gaye, Thank God I'm a Country Boy by John Denver, My Ding-a-Ling by Chuck Berry. Now those came in the 80s and the 70s. The first one came in the 60s, and it was part of the dance craze called The Twist. It hit #1 in 1962. Here's a piece of it.
Well, they got a new dance and it goes like this. Up, give up, peppermint twist.
They called it the Peppermint Twist because it was recorded live at the Peppermint Lounge in New York City by the house band, Joey D and the Starlighters, hit number 1 in 1962. The first live number 1 of the rock era. Now, the second live number 1 is the biggest. It was recorded by a 12-year-old, though he was 13 when it hit number 1. Played a little harmonica on it. From 1963, the number 1 hit, Fingertips Part 2 by Little Stevie Wonder, who's all grown up now. The biggest live number 1. The 8th hit just last week. This week it falls 2 notches to number 3 in the countdown. Recorded live before an audience in Lakeland, Florida. It's Billy Idol belting out Money Money.
All right.
Last week's number 1 song, this week falling to number 3. Billy doing it live, Money Money. We're counting down now to a man who sang on 10 top 40 hits with the duo The Righteous Brothers. Then suddenly, in the mid-70s, his big, deep, soulful voice vanished. Couldn't sing a note for 10 years. Now he's back and singing the new number 1 song in the USA.
Casey's Coast to Coast. American Top 40.
We're up to the 2 hottest hits in the land now, and floating up a notch to number 2, Belinda Carlisle, born and raised in Los Angeles, the city of the angels, singing Heaven is a Place on Earth. Belinda Carlisle, Heaven is a Place on Earth, and could find that place at number 1 next week. This week she's moving up a notch to number 2. Never hit the top before with the Go-Go's or solo. This one could be the one. This is Casey Kasem on American Top 40. Well, now we're up to the man who sang on 10 top 40 hits and then suddenly lost his voice. Couldn't sing a note for 10 years. Sound strange? Well, Bill Medley will be the first to tell you how strange it really was. Bill first hit big back in the 60s with a duo called The Righteous Brothers. They had a hot streak going, including number 1 classics like You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin' and Soul and Inspiration. But as we've seen time and time again, the charts can be fickle, and most groups have their ups and they have their downs. Well, The Righteous Brothers had their crash in the late 60s. Spent 8 years with no hits. Finally, they came back in 1974, had 3 top 40 hits. So on the surface, things seem to be back on track. But that's when Bill Medley's career completely derailed. One morning he woke up and discovered his rich, deep bass voice had vanished. Bill says, I'd try to sing, I'd open my mouth and hardly anything would come out. He went to the doctor, but found there was nothing physically wrong with him. So Bill saw a psychiatrist, and he discovered the source of his problem. Stress. You see, the uncertainty of life in the music business was really getting to him. Plus, Bill was in the middle of a personal crisis. His former wife had recently died, and to add to that, Bill was faced with the new responsibility of raising his teenage son by himself. And now that he'd lost his voice, he found himself in a vicious circle of even more stress. But Bill stayed in therapy, and he started taking voice lessons. He also remarried and invested his money in some solid business deals. Slowly, he worked through his crisis. And 10 years later, he had a breakthrough. Bill says proudly, now I can sing as well as I could years ago. Can you imagine it? To have my voice back. It's like losing an arm and having it mysteriously grow back. End of quote from Bill Medley. A man who's come back. Come back with a new partner, Jennifer Warnes. And he's gone all the way to the top. The new number 1 song in the USA is I've Had the Time of My Life. Bill Medley and Jennifer Warnes. There it is, the new number 1 song in the USA, from the number 1 album in the USA, I've Had the Time of My Life, by Bill Medley and Jennifer Warnes. It's from the soundtrack to the movie Dirty Dancing. For Jennifer Warnes, it's the second number 1. Her first was also a duet, Up Where We Belong with Joe Cocker. For Bill Medley, it's the third number 1. The last one dating back 21 years to 1966, when he sang You're My Soul and Inspiration as part of the Righteous Brothers. And there you are, the 40 most popular records in America, straight from the official Billboard chart for the week ending November 28, 1987. American Top 40, created by Casey Kasem and Don Bastani in conjunction with ABC Watermark and Tom Rounds, is produced in Hollywood by ABC Watermark. Our mailing address is American Top 40, Post Office Box 2000, Hollywood, California. Zip code 90028. Our producer is Elizabeth Rollins, with Daryl Morton, Matt Wilson, Tracy Pearson, Dana Schwartzwalder, Guy Aoki, Michael Sullivan, Veronica Albano, Mike Williams, David Cohen, Stu Jacobs, and Joyce Hyatton. I'm Casey Kasem. Join me next week, and again we'll count down the 40 most popular songs in the USA. Till then, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.